Imagine a time when a single disease could wipe out entire towns. Streets once bustling with life became eerily silent, filled only with the echoes of the departed. The stench of death hung heavy in the air, a constant reminder of the invisible enemy that stalked the land. This was the grim reality of the Black Death, a pandemic so devastating that it reshaped the course of history. The year was 1346. The world had never witnessed such horror. From the bustling cities of Italy to the quiet villages of England, the Black Death, a plague like no other, swept across Europe. It left a trail of death and despair in its wake. Millions perished, their lives cut short by a mysterious and merciless killer. The Black Death, now known to be caused by the bacterium Yersinia pestis, remains one of the most terrifying events in human history. Its impact extended far beyond the immediate devastation, leaving an indelible mark on art, religion, and the very fabric of society. The world would never be the same. The Black Death's origins are shrouded in mystery, but most historians believe it originated in Central Asia. Some theories suggest it emerged from the steppes of Central Asia, while others point to the bustling trade routes of China. Regardless of its precise birthplace, the plague found its way westward, carried by fleas that hitched rides on rodents. These infected rodents, often black rats, thrived in the crowded, unsanitary conditions of medieval cities and ships. The Silk Road, a network of trade routes connecting east and west, acted as a highway for the disease, facilitating its rapid spread. By the mid-14th century, the Black Death had reached the shores of Europe, poised to unleash its terror upon an unsuspecting population. The Black Death's arrival in Europe was swift and merciless. It first appeared in the bustling port city of Kaffa, now Feodosia in Crimea, Ukraine. Legend has it that Mongol armies besieging the city catapulted plague-ridden corpses over the city walls, sparking an outbreak within. While this story is likely apocryphal, it illustrates the fear and panic that accompanied the plague's arrival. From Kaffa, the Black Death spread like wildfire, carried by trading ships across the Mediterranean Sea. The bustling port cities of Genoa, Venice, and Constantinople became early victims of the pandemic. As ships laden with goods and unwitting carriers of disease docked at port after port, the plague found fertile ground for its deadly advance. Europe's interconnectedness, a boon for trade and cultural exchange, became its Achilles heel in the face of the pandemic. Medieval cities with their dense populations and poor sanitation provided ideal breeding grounds for rats and the fleas that carried the plague. People lived in close quarters, often sharing homes with animals, further accelerating the disease's transmission. Travelers, seeking new opportunities or fleeing the path of the plague, unknowingly carried the disease with them. Roads, once bustling with merchants and pilgrims, became vectors of transmission, connecting distant communities and spreading the plague's reach far and wide. Within a few short years, the Black Death had reached every corner of Europe, leaving a trail of death and devastation in its wake. Section 4. A swift and silent killer. The Black Death was as swift as it was deadly. Once infected, victims experienced a gruesome array of symptoms. High fever, chills, and weakness marked the disease's onset, followed by painful swellings called buboes that appeared in the groin, armpits, and neck. These buboes, filled with pus and blood, gave the plague its gruesome name, the bubonic plague. As the disease progressed, victims experienced vomiting, diarrhea, and internal bleeding, leading to excruciating pain and eventual death. The speed with which the plague claimed its victims was terrifying. Many died within days of showing symptoms, while others succumbed within hours. The sheer virulence of the Black Death left no time for goodbyes, no time for last rites, only the cold embrace of death. Adding to the terror, the cause of the Black Death remained a mystery to medieval physicians. With no understanding of bacteria or viruses, they attributed the plague to everything from bad air, known as miasma, to divine punishment for sins. This lack of scientific understanding hindered efforts to combat the disease, leaving populations vulnerable to its relentless advance. Section 5. Crumbling societies, shifting powers. The Black Death's impact extended far beyond the immediate devastation. The pandemic ripped through the very fabric of medieval society, leaving lasting economic, social, and political consequences. Labor shortages, a direct result of the massive death toll, crippled agriculture and industry. Fields lay fallow, workshops stood silent, and trade networks collapsed, plunging Europe into economic turmoil. The feudal system, the backbone of medieval society, began to crumble. With so many peasants dead, the labor pool dwindled, giving survivors more bargaining power. They demanded higher wages and better conditions, challenging the authority of their feudal lords. This shift in power dynamics, fueled by the plague's demographic upheaval, sowed the seeds for social unrest and rebellion. the Black Death's psychological toll was equally profound. The constant threat of death, coupled with the breakdown of social order, fostered an atmosphere of fear, suspicion, and despair. Religious fervor intensified as people sought solace and explanations in the face of unimaginable suffering. Some turned to extreme piety, while others lashed out in anger and blame, accusing Jews, foreigners, and other marginalized groups of spreading the plague. Section 6. Fighting a Phantom Medieval Remedies. In their desperation to combat the invisible enemy, medieval people resorted to a variety of remedies, some practical, others rooted in superstition. Physicians armed with limited knowledge and even more limited tools employed bloodletting, purging, and the application of leeches in a futile attempt to rebalance the body's humors. Without a true understanding of contagion, people clung to folk remedies and religious rituals. They burned incense, wore amulets, and engaged in self-flagellation, hoping to appease an angry god or ward off evil spirits. Quarantine measures, while not as sophisticated as modern practices, were implemented in some cities, with ships arriving from plague-stricken areas held at bay for a period of time. The effectiveness of these measures varied, but the Black Death's relentless advance continued largely unabated. It would take centuries for scientific understanding to catch up with the devastation wrought by the plague. In the meantime, people were left to face the horrors of the Black Death with a mixture of fear, resignation, and desperate hope. Section 7. Echoes of the Black Death. The Black Death's legacy continued to shape history long after it retreated from Europe. Labor shortages led to the decline of feudalism and a new social order. The power vacuum paved the way for new ideas and technologies. Art, literature, and religion were profoundly impacted. Works reflected the era's preoccupation with death and life's fragility. The dance macabre depicted death leading all in a macabre dance. The Black Death reminds us of the power of infectious diseases. The COVID-19 pandemic shows we are still vulnerable. Investing in public health and scientific literacy is crucial. Learning from the past helps us prepare for future pandemics. The lessons of the past can guide our future. Understanding the Black Death equips us to face modern challenges.